This is a really bad look for the NHL. So a couple of nights ago, one of the game's best stars in Cale Makar was put into concussion protocol. That might not seem like a big deal, but this was his second concussion in the span of 11 days. The worst part about all this was that after both hits Makar took to the head, he would play in the remainder of both games. Now, if you're unfamiliar with concussion protocol in the NHL, here's a brief summary from the NHL's website. It basically states that the identification and removal of players is a club level responsibility. In addition to this, the NHL has Central League spotters and in-arena league spotters to help observe a player's behavior during the NHL game, but it also gives a list of things that clubs should watch out for, like lying motionless on the ice, motor and coordination, balance problems, blank or a vacant look, and of course slow to get up. Now that we know this, let's look at the hit that caused Makar's first concussion. This headshot hit from Jeff Carter on Cale Makar would cause Makar to be a little bit shaken up and slow to get up, but after all, he would finish the game and neither the Avalanche or the league spotters pulled him. After that, Makar would be sidelined with a concussion, missing 4 games until being cleared to come back and play in St. Louis. Makar looked fine up until he took this bump at the blue line and then briefly left the game before returning and playing a total of 21 minutes. After that St. Louis game, however, it was announced that Makar was out again with the concussion just 11 days after his first one. Considering this is one of the game's best young superstars, this is a really bad look for the NHL. When you get 2 concussions that quickly in a span of 11 days, that is concerning for any player, let alone one of the best in the game. This is a situation you have to be extremely careful with because if you're not, you can wind up with another Sidney Crosby situation. When Crosby got his first concussion, he would come back and rush his recovery only 4 days later. He got crushed again by Victor Hedman and then missed nearly a year. The general solution to be more strict with implementing these rules isn't so straightforward either. Concussions have to be the most puzzling and frustrating injury, and that's because one day you can feel fine and the next all of your symptoms come back. The NHL did good by implementing this protocol, but they have to do a better job when tracking these types of plays and finding the balance of knowing when to pull a player from the game. As it states on their website, it is primarily up to the club, and let's be honest, if Makar gets his bell rung in an important game, Colorado isn't going to be so eager to pull him if he isn't showing severe signs of a concussion. People may not want to hear that, but these players don't want to be pulled from the game either. It is ingrained in hockey players to play through pain, and perhaps the best example of this is Patrice Bergeron playing through a punctured lung, torn cartilage, and cracked ribs in the 2013 Stanley Cup Final. Is that stupid? Yeah, probably, but this is the mentality you're dealing with. Majority of players, unless severely concussed, aren't going to be willing to pull themselves out of the game. Until that changes, if it ever changes, this will require better attention. I hope for hockey's sake that this isn't another Crosby situation, as when I look back at what gave Makar his second concussion, it wasn't a big shot by any means, and that's concerning. Hopefully this time around he rests up properly and returns to form. So what do you think about this whole situation? Do you think the NHL needs to revamp their concussion protocol? Do you think something needs to change as a whole? Personally, with all the information we have on concussions nowadays, I don't think this should ever happen to an NHL hockey player. If something looks off and it's pretty obvious, the league has to step in. Let me know in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video and want to see more just like it, click on any of the links right here.